Teddy bear.
Teddy bear.
Teddy bear.
By the way, welcome to Silent Lummox Week on Yelling About.
Silent Lummox Week.
I would not call either of these people lummoxes, actually.
He is a presence, though. My God, it's like
Yeah, but he's not a lummox. He's like
No.
he's actually an intensely sweet person.
Yeah,
Like,
this is a very sweet movie that I found almost paralyzingly triggering.
oh, okay.
For personal reasons.
yeah, I can be sad about my love life by myself. I don't need a movie to do it.
Oh, man.
I mean,
okay, coming out of the gate, and let's just start with the controversy. Do you think this film is making a statement about Western women and how
No.
they? You don't think so?
No.
Because he
No.
he got rejected a couple of times and not nicely.
I don't think
it goes
this
back to
film
the way
is
his mother
making.
treats him too.
I don't think this film is making a statement about anything. I think it's
I
telling
agree
a
with
sensitive
Chad. I
story.
agree with Jared. This is a slice of life character study that just kind of like we get a little view into this guy's life, and maybe it makes a major life change, and maybe it sticks, and maybe it doesn't. Movie over.
Yep.
And the thing about this movie too is like this is so much like a travelogue of going to Thailand that like I don't feel like it's making like I almost feel like the Bangkok Tourist Bureau paid for this movie because like
Really?
It looks like a lot
yeah.
of fun.
I don't think it's a very rosy picture. From the very moment he gets there, it's sort of overcast and gray.
Oh.
It's kind of like it feels very documentary style in that it's not shot with vibrant colors. All the things
It's
you
actually the
associate.
location.
No, but
it's-
what it feels like is
It's
feels
the
like a
anti-white lotus. It doesn't
Bourdain- it feels
glamorize
like a
Thailand.
Bourdain, it feels like a Bourdain special.
Yes.
Where,
Well,
like,
during that montage when they're going out,
I
and eating
like
bugs and
that
things like
you
that, it
said
was like that.
anti-white lotus, John. Because I feel like this is a more realistic view,
It is.
possibly.
Oh, I could tell you it is extremely
Yeah.
real.
There's that one scene where he's walking down the street and this one hooker after another is basically
Yeah.
just grabbing onto him like sirens.
Well, I mean, he'd be a giant among white folk, but when he goes to Thailand, it's just exaggerated.
He's the
almost-
Hulk.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Like how
He's a spectacle. He's an absolute spectacle.
But like I said,
but like the bar that his uncle's buddy owns is decent. Like it's not fucked up.
Yeah.
Like
It seems like on the lower echelon to me.
yeah,
but I don't know though.
What's going on there is fucked up. But then he goes to the gym. The gym is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Gym's okay.
He meets Toy. He meets I can't remember his buddy's name because they say it once and they never say it again.
He's a
they're
nice
both
guy.
bodybuilders.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Like him.
yeah. They have that whole scene
guy.
together, that's my favorite scene in the movie. Is when
Because-
he starts working out
because he seems
with-
so relaxed.
It's this
you know.
weight lifted off of you because it's this weight lifted off of him. He's back in his element.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. It was
And
nice.
then
'cause
He
he
needed a
over-
pick me up right then,
he
and he
takes
got
him
it.
over and he shows him the clippings in
Yeah.
in the book. And,
It's great.
Then they have their little pose off, and he's telling him to
You should rotate your
How
shoulder.
to- how to move your muscles. Yeah.
Trilateral, and then it's like, yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a wonderful scene of him opening up in
Right.
this new place, and then you have the scene where he goes out to dinner with them, and then he starts talking to her, and they do that whole romance from there, and that all felt really
That's all
natural to
great.
me.
Yeah. It's really good.
But to me, as someone who doesn't do a lot of touristy stuff, that's what I want to see in like a tourist video. Again, to me, it's like a Bourdain thing of like, these are the places that Bourdain would have gone,
Yeah,
like
authenticity.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. He would have
Like,
gone to
this is-
that bar because he heard the appetizers were really good.
I don't think the photography was good enough to actually show.
Right,
it.
and he would have gone to that fresh market and like, with someone like her who can walk him around and be like, oh yeah, this is fresh from the ocean, but they smoke it and they salt it, and then like this, here, try this, and like I know this guy and that kind of stuff. And like that whole middle part in the movie I loved. I hated everything when he was in Denmark. Like,
Well, he was
There's not much to
miserable.
like about his life in Denmark.
Yeah.
he's miserable, and his mom's a psychopath.
Oh my God. And I mean, both these movies have that in common, in that the lead character is bottled up for one reason or another, and in this case it's because of his mother. And so his mother's awful, and you understand why it's like when she does the terrible things she does, says the terrible things, like when she
Rips
finds
up
out,
his bedroom.
rips up his bedroom and then tells him off and all that stuff, and you're just like, when's he gonna snap and yell back at her? And he never ever does. Because that's been his whole life. His whole life, he's been conditioned. Sorry, mom. Sorry, mom. Sorry, mom.
Well, and she's like, you're just like your father, and he says, I'm nothing like him, and she says, yes, you are. I knew him. You didn't,
Right.
and that's such a you understand everything about him. At that point.
Right.
Like she has blamed him from the day he was born.
Right.
For that happening.
Right.
And and it's so obviously you can project so much into the character about why did he become a bodybuilder? Why is this all so important to him? It's because he's trying to show that he's his own person.
Right.
He's separate from this, but he's not.
Right.
And the more he fights against it, the more she hurts him.
I like how you put that, Tad, because I think and I'll talk more about it later. I should let you guys talk, but I think his performance is that kind of quiet performance that you can project things onto him as a character that you are feeling, or that you are thinking as the viewer. Anyway,
I go back again to if this is a pro-male tract, if this is a masculine statement about how men and women interact in modern
I don't think
society.
so. I think you're getting,
Hold on,
getting hung up on stuff.
Let me finish my thought. Then you can dunk on me, okay? Okay, but
I'm not dunking on you. I'm just disagreeing.
I know, I disagree. That's fine. But the thing is, I've spent a lot of time in the South Bay, in Silicon Valley and Palo Alto, and you see a lot of people just like our protagonist's uncle, who have decided to just opt out of having a white girl, a white wife or white woman, and we have brought in an Asian one. And it's that's extremely common down there. And it is a kind of like a, what? What was that?
Chris is just saying yes.
It is extremely common. And so the part of the thing I'm thinking there is, I don't know if this is a kind of aggressively anti-Western female point of view. I don't think it is, but I think it's bringing it up. Listen, the women, the two.
I think you're right that it's bringing,
reject the hell out of him both times.
I think you're right that it is bringing it up,
and
I think it swerves that by having him fall for this woman who is independent.
Yes.
She's been married before. Right. She owns a business, and she, for the most part, except for the scene at the beach where he doesn't realize the cultural taboo about trying to kiss her.
Right.
She's the one who's leading this entire relationship. He falls for her because she's not one of those people.
She's a nice, normal person who knows his world, basically.
Yeah,
right. And the thing is that legitimizes the argument I'm making earlier. Like the thing is that the guy who had the bar earlier with just the hookers, that's the most primitive form of this. That's the whole sex tourism thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, you understand? He goes there and gives her a hooker.
He rejects that.
He rejects
that.
Yeah.
Well, he's as the main character of the movie.
He doesn't even realize that it's going on at first.
No, he's surprised when she asks for money, right?
Yeah.
And then he rejects her. And here's the point. He's not horny. He's lonely.
Right.
Yep.
He wants a relationship.
That's a very good point, John.
And that's what finally works for him is he sits down and has dinner with her and they start talking about their lives and then they make a connection.
And they don't have sex. He goes back to her. I love the scene where he gets so freaked out he leaves.
Right.
And then he walks out into the street and he's
stands there.
You're letting this thing that
go.
Is real go.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
And he turns around, he goes back to her place, and they don't have the big, makeout session, session.
It was sweet. They just lay down and go to sleep.
Holding each other on the bed. And it's that's beautiful.
And that scene in the street,
odd looking.
That scene in the street was done. Yeah. That scene in the street was done with no dialogue. His realization. I think it's one shot. In fact, it's incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
He shrugs his shoulders a little bit.
Yeah.
And you see his expression change 3 times, and then he goes back.
What do you
Right.
know about this actor, the guy who plays him? Anything?
He's not an actor.
He's not. He's a non-actor. It
He's
shows.
he's a real professional.
Yeah.
God damn, because
Fast
it's
and
like,
Furious, I think Fast and Furious like 6 or 9 or something.
is he really?
Yeah.
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 Well,
Wow.
I know very little, but this was a
He's just a
short.
huge dude.
This
He's
was a
huge
short
dude.
film.
That makes sense.
This was a short film called Dennis.
Mhm. Oh, was it really?
Yeah, made by this same filmmaker, and
Okay.
and he got Dennis for real. This
Mhm.
guy, his real name, and yeah, he's not an actor, but he saw something there, and he wanted to tell this kind of story apparently,
Right.
and they made the short film, and I guess it was pretty successful, and then now you have this.
Well, if that's true,
It is
that
very funny. It is very funny that he says he's 38 at one point in
Yeah.
this. Motherfucker, you are not 38.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
I don't know, he might be.
That's like
he was 47 when they filmed.
I was gonna say
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that's
kidding.
close to
The other
48.
way around. Okay.
he looks close to 50.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well,
I want
but-
to, if I have just a moment, I want
Take
to
your time, John.
provide a moment for Chris because I feel like at the top of this episode he wanted to say some stuff, some personal
Well,
stuff.
say some stuff, man.
you guys all know that my dad lived in Thailand from 2007 until he passed in 21. And he went out there to do this. And so I I know from listening to him, I mean, Farang culture is a very real fucking thing. Old guys going to Thailand, they they bounce around the bars.
Uh-huh.
They finally land someone that they decide to spend more time with, who almost inevitably ends up being a girl from a village who's come from a village to go
Right.
to Bangkok. And the relationship that gets established is, I'll be with you until you die. At what point you're going to leave all your money to me so I can go take care of my family.
Right.
Right.
That's
Wow, that's messed up.
that's the thing that is done by, if not tens of thousands.
Mm.
There's a whole subculture.
No.
And it's not just Thailand. It's Indonesia.
Vietnam.
It's Vietnam. Like
It is a business arrangement that gets made that it ends up working out more or less for both parties.
Well, anyways, it just burning off.
Yeah, I mean it's a contract. I mean,
a lot of
if
70
it's
and
willing
80-year-old
parties.
guys with 30-year-old and 40-year-old women.
Yeah, burning
and
off
then-
the excess
well,
cash of the
That
white
part
dude.
was, like, oh fuck, here we go. I mean, again, for the caveat is, I think this is an extremely sweet movie. For some reason, it reminded me a lot of The Wrestler. But then the other thing I found hard to get through was the relationship with his mother.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I haven't talked to my mom in 25 years now, because she and I had a conversation very similar to the one he had with her.
Wow,
Whoa. I
It's
didn't know
like
that.
the relationship
dude.
gets renegotiated, and if one party is not okay with that, then the relationship is over.
Right.
Right.
And when he started talking to her, that was about the point where I started crawling under my seat.
Aw.
Oh fuck! Here
Wow.
we go.
She
But you
was
know what? You know what though? Good for you, because I know how fucking hard that is.
Yeah.
Like, to just go, no, mom, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
That's it. It's fucking over.
Yeah.
And if we're not okay with it, sayonara.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the power structure between the mother and the son, very
For me,
interesting.
the two biggest emotional beats in this movie were 100% on the nose, and they resonated for me. Again, we all go into our movie, we all go into some of these things with our own personal experiences, baggage. I felt like this really nailed it. Like, I felt like
Also,
extremely
this-
authentic.
There's a
scene
couple of
behind
bullets.
this-
and when he's leaving and she's like, "Don't leave me,"
Right.
Yes.
and he's just like, again, she says it again.
Yeah.
When he's like walking out the door and he's hugging her, and it's just like,
And
you
he says
don't
nothing.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't understand.
100%.
Also,
Right.
the scene behind Chris when they met up at a lingerie shop. I mean,
That's incredible.
that's peak irony. This is, don't forget that the influence of Dogma 95 is all through this film.
Yeah.
That's like it hits almost every note in Dogma 95's manifesto, and that was perfect. Handheld, right in there.
Really nailed
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Lingerie shop. Oh my
and,
god!
and it's like it's terrible for him because he's in a lingerie shop, which is
I
sort
know.
of proving
All
her
you gotta think
point.
about sex the entire time.
It's
you're there.
right. You're just obsessed with sex. Yeah.
And to sort of to broaden the discussion on like sort of the just like stylish aspects of the film that are, I find it fascinating. Everything about this film is kind of fascinating to me, but look how tiny his mother is.
Oh yeah.
And how enormous he is.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's by chance. I mean, I'm sure, and also the mother, what a wonderful actor, by the way.
Oh yeah,
to make
by all
us
means.
hate her that much and and be. But I think that's not by accident that they cast someone like her.
Well, it's not just that you hate her, it's you start out with sympathy for her. Like in the beginning of the film, I have sympathy for that character, and then slowly over the course of the movie, she turns
because of what she says and does. You turn against her. It's true.
Right.
Yeah, well, I liked her at the beginning too.
But yes, in the line you said, Tad, where she says, "Don't leave me." That's the one time where for a second you go, "Oh, she's also she's so damaged herself."
Right. Yeah. She has no reason. There's no reason she couldn't have found another guy and gotten remarried and had a life. And instead, she's living this life that we're seeing, where she's completely dependent on her son, her adult son, who she won't let move out of the house. Right. So she's messed up too.
The part where he says he's going to Germany, and she's like, "Well, you have chores here."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, okay, and
yeah.
I'll tell you though, I one of my best friends comes from a family of very large men. The only person on earth they were all afraid of was their mother, who was about the size of the actress in this movie. 100 times where all she had to do was look at them a certain way out of the corner of her eye and go from the size of this guy in this movie to a little boy.
Yeah, that's the power of a parent.
Or a mom, that kind of mom. Knows exactly what to do to get that big kid to snap too.
I think the only person in here who's met my mom is John, and my mom is 5'5" and I'm 6'2", and she absolutely had that power over me too. It is very much, she's a small old lady, but there's still moments where she can turn and look at me and I can just be like,
yep.
Because it's all emotional and psychological.
At the end of it though,
I was never worried about my father getting mad at me for stuff. But if my mom got mad at me for stuff, it was like, I fucked up. I actually fucked up.
Hey, I burned all that shit off. I live with this woman. She's 40 feet away, man.
My dad was the one.
Everything is a very even negotiation. Don't worry. If you can do it if you actually stand up for yourself.
My dad was the one in my family.
This guy deserves to fucking be happy.
That's the thing, right?
He does.
But he has to get there, and he has to make a couple of really tough decisions. And I was with him the entire way. And even if the movie just sort of like, okay, he's free, now what? The end.
Right.
Yep.
I also really like.
I spent some time in this thing, kind of blaming like Western women. Just don't really want to that's kind of the whole incel thing. Where I'm not saying that anymore. I'm actually saying he's just painfully shy.
Yes,
because of the way he grew up.
The way he grew up.
Probably.
And the thing is,
I think that makes him.
I would say this character is probably autistic. Like
Maybe.
the way he has a very hard time making eye contact with people. The way he
and the self-obsession with the whole bodybuilding thing is.
Maybe you could make that argument. I didn't get that from him, but I do think the shyness. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
But to
certainly he's a prime candidate for going to Thailand and finding a girlfriend because he did strike out. He's awkward and he couldn't talk to women.
So I think it cuts both ways though.
He rejects the false relationships of the sex tourism, all that stuff. And he does meet a woman who is his equal in a lot of ways. And I love the fact that when you are first introduced to her, he's like, "Oh, do you like," or I guess the second time, "Do you like bodybuilding?" And she's like, "No."
Not particularly.
Yeah, it's like I just have this place because my husband owned it and then he died and now I run it. And it's like she doesn't give a shit about the gym culture.
Which is good because it drops the veil off that thing. All right, well, we're lapping ourselves at this point. So what do you think? You guys want to?
I liked this movie a lot. I thought it was great.
Dude, it was really
movie.
wonderful.
It's a little movie that
Yep.
that's really well executed.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to say is like I feel like this is a little movie with so many small beautiful moments, and sometimes you need like the opposite of what you normally see, right? To like, for me, this movie is kind of the opposite of a lot of films, you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just in the way it's executed,
Yeah.
and the way it's,
It
and I
kind of
can't.
reminded me of The Wrestler.
Yeah, it kind of a little bit, but
Little bit.
but the Wrestler, which I love as well.
Randy the Ram is so self-confident.
Right.
As opposed
Exactly.
to-
So I was gonna say that's what I was getting to is I do love the Wrestler, but Dennis,
It's
there's
not
something about every time you see his face, every time he speaks a word, a line, a sentence, I was just with him.
Mhm.
I just
I know, right?
So it's interesting. It's interesting now that you're bringing this up. What it reminded me of is I've been rewatching Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
and It reminds me of the courtship that Kingpin has in season 1 of Daredevil, where he is so like awkward around her. And again, he's this huge, imposing dude.
Yeah.
And like he knows he's picked the right wine, but then he's like, do you like the wine? Is the wine okay? Is the dessert okay?
Yeah.
And like
100%, Tad.
Right.
Mhm.
But
and
this guy,
like,
but Dennis wouldn't even say, "Do you like that?" He waits for, I don't know. There's just something
no,
so
but
special about.
I'm saying,
But
I'm
yes,
saying
yes, yes.
it's like a
No,
shadow.
Tad's onto
Yeah.
something. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I
I
don't
could
know.
see, and I could see Dennis fucking taking someone's head off with a car door if they fucked up a date that he had with this woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Or hurt her in some way.
right.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's so funny that you get someone like this who is a quote unquote non-actor, who to me gives one of the most beautiful, authentic performances that maybe I've ever seen within this context. Like, I just totally.
There really aren't any false notes in it, and also I think it's hard to make a movie like this with a quiet, withdrawn main character and make it interesting. And this movie does that.
This is a director's work. Directors can make non-actors give amazing performances.
Absolutely.
So Mattheisen did a great job on that.
You have to lean into the things he can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I will say, one real quick thing I will say is I do think that this movie is less than the sum of its parts. I don't dislike it. I don't think it's bad at all, but I came away from it feeling a little bit slight in the long run. And I think it is. I think the transitions between who he is in Thailand and who he is in Denmark and the relationships and stuff that he has. I wish they'd carried through the relationship that he had with Lars from the beginning of the movie, his buddy, who they work out together.
Yeah, the black dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they'd carried that through a little bit. I wish he'd come back at the end.
Oh, yeah.
There's just a couple of things in the movie where I'm like,
Yeah, he could have helped them load the car up or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
right.
there's a
Yeah.
it's a kind of a very in media res thing. We end up with a story about this little tiny woman and a gigantic bodybuilder's son. You don't know how he got that way. You don't know what his interest was. You don't know what his
Right.
background, why he got involved in this. Because
Yeah,
I
well,
think
I
that's a
think a
big part
lot
of the
of the
story that's just
parts-
missing.
Oh, no.
well, I think a lot of the
Maybe-
parts of this movie are very good. There's some missing pieces when it's all fit together for me.
Mhm.
For me, but again, I don't think it's bad, and I absolutely think people should watch it.
Absolutely. Same
Yeah,
here. Oh, now we're doing thumbs. This is
I love it. I love this little movie.
Me too.
I
Great
love the
pick.
movie.
That's why we watch international cinema, damn it.
There you go.
Yeah.